is here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. As you must know by now, it's the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And the President of the United States spoke today, as did Clinton, as did Carter, as did Oprah Winfrey, as did Sharpton, as did a number of people. Actors, long list of people. And I got to thinking, 25 years ago this summer, 25 years ago this summer, one of the most important civil rights victories occurred, and to the best of my recollection, not a single person on that stage supported it, acknowledged it, or in any way participated in it. It was the victory in the Milwaukee school choice case, led by Landmark Legal Foundation. A landmark decision, which was opposed by the ACLU, People for the American Way, the NEA, and the NAACP. 25 years ago this summer. You heard nothing about this today as the speaker spoke at the Lincoln Memorial. Nothing. For the most part, you heard platitudes, and they were good platitudes, good speeches with platitudes. How far we've come, how far we have to go, but not a single person up there was involved in it, has been involved in it since, or has supported it. As a matter of fact, 3 presidents, Obama, Clinton, and Carter, have actively opposed school choice. Now, what is school choice? Well, school choice provides a little bit of competition for public schools in poor areas. In poor areas where mostly minorities live. In poor areas where mostly minorities who are black live. And it gives them an opportunity to go to other schools in their communities, but not necessarily down the street, should the parents choose, where they have a better chance at a better education. 25 years ago this summer, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin. And then Landmark went back into court and said, okay, these poor children, most of whom are minorities, most of the minorities of whom are black, we should limit this to public schools and non-religious private schools. What about parochial schools? They're some of the best schools in these communities and some of the most affordable. Well, the ACLU, the NAACP, People for the American Way, among others, the NEA, they stood up and they fought that too. And they lost. This is one of the most important civil rights victories in decades. And all the wrong people are lined up in all the wrong positions. Why? Why isn't this celebrated? Why isn't this promoted? Why do presidents and civil rights leaders, so-called, pretend that it's good enough to get behind a microphone and go on and on about redistributing wealth? Because that's what they're talking about. A socialist agenda, as if that's a civil rights agenda. A big government agenda. Since when does that have anything to do with civil rights, but in most respects the opposite? They have not lifted a finger for school choice, whether tax credits, whether vouchers, what have you. Nothing. Zero. And worse, the current president of the United States, the first black president of the United States, and to be accurate, just for the New York Times, the first half-black president of the United States, he took affirmative steps to destroy the school choice program in the District of Columbia, which has so many rotten schools that he won't even send his own kids to public schools in the District of Columbia. And he's in front of the Lincoln Memorial, going on and on about what Martin Luther King would want. I'm just telling you the truth. Today, in a completely different context, there's a fellow by the name of Grover Norquist. He's not elected to anything. He's been in Washington a long time. He just kind of hangs around like a barnacle. I don't know what he does anymore. He holds meetings. He has people sign pledges. And he's on TV all the time. And now he's spread out where he supports amnesty and citizenship for illegal aliens. He's spread out where he's reaching out to some of the most radical elements of the Islamic Muslim community. He's a very odd fellow. Very odd fellow. And today, he stated in some paper, I don't have it in front of me. Oh, here it is. And this relates, as you'll see. The Hill newspaper. Don't let Limbaugh, Levin moderate 2016 debates. Now, folks, I've explained this before. The RNC has no intention of letting me moderate any debate. It's a ruse. And just to prove it, we've contacted them several times, the chairman's office, Reince Priebus, and we said, I accept. They don't answer. Because I really don't accept, and they didn't really offer. It's a ruse to fool you. Now, I know some hosts will beat their chests going on and on about, well, look at this, they're talking about me. I don't. I know it's pathetic. But this ruse has a positive effect because it smokes out people like Norquist, a phony conservative. Norquist, the article goes on, is strongly opposed to letting conservative talk show hosts moderate the 2016 Republican presidential primary debates. Norquist, a conservative leader. What makes him a conservative leader? The fact that he holds meetings? Is he our leader, folks? Who heads the anti-taxation Americans for Tax Reform, told The Hill Tuesday the Republican Party should instead incorporate Republican office holders into its debate format. Oh, that's a real winner, isn't it, folks? We need Republican office holders questioning Republican office holders who want to go to higher office. This is a conservative leader, mind you, who has nothing but contempt for you. Having conservative talk show hosts Mark Levin or Rush Limbaugh host debates would be, quote, not useful. Talk radio hosts, he said, are primarily entertainers who would draw attention away from the candidates themselves. Now, this is what's interesting, entertainers. I just read to you Landmark Legal Foundation's 8 years of litigation on school choice. I could have read to you a number of cases. Landmark Legal Foundation's multiple lawsuits against the Internal Revenue Service over the decades. Landmark Legal Foundation's litigation against the Environmental Protection Agency. We will be deposing the former head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lisa Jackson, in the weeks and months ahead, as well as other officials, about the conduct of their record keeping, among other things. We've litigated against the NEA for 25 years about their tax returns. And I can go down the list, but I'm not going to. Some entertainer, huh? Meanwhile, I would love to know what Grover Norquist has accomplished, other than running around with pledges. Look, I got this guy's pledge. There's a difference between being an entertainer and being entertaining. Of course you want to be interesting, bracing, entertaining on the radio. And quite frankly, most walks of life. But I have no idea what this Americans for Tax Reform actually does, what it actually accomplishes, folks. I see taxes going up. I see spending going up. I don't know what they do. But somehow Grover Norquist now is an expert on immigration, on affairs with Muslims. Oh, I believe he's also for same-sex marriage. That's perfectly fine. He can be for whatever he wants. And he's a conservative leader. How so? Where did that happen? When did it happen? He goes on. Radio hosts, despite their popularity, did not necessarily represent the Republican mainstream. Now, this is a conservative leader, quote unquote. He pointed toward immigration reform as an example, saying that while Levin opposes comprehensive immigration reform fiercely, polls show most Republicans are amenable to it. No, they don't. But that aside, this guy's no conservative. He's a K Street operator and has been for a long time. Maybe somebody from CARE should be doing the questioning, huh, Grover? Would you prefer that? Norquist said he wanted primary debates to incorporate party members in a bigger way while limiting the role of the media. Well, who cares what he wants? What is this, Karl Rove's sidekick? He said prospective presidential candidates should be questioned by Republican governors, attorneys general, and other elected Republicans instead of radio show hosts. What a dummy. The radio show hosts were never going to be involved in this. What you want is Republican questions for Republican guys so that Republicans can be informed in a primary. Is that what you want, ladies and gentlemen? Do you even understand what he's saying? Well, I have to conclude that it's Grover Norquist who's the entertainer, and not a very good one. I think we call entertainers like this clowns.
Mark Levin.
Cesspool Washington really is, and these so-called conservative leaders trashing conservatives, they're part of it. Our friend Jen Kuznicki, she says, here's the real problem. The real problem is that Grover Norquist doesn't want conservatives questioning Republican candidates. Republican officials questioning Republican officials. Quite interesting, isn't it? I had a friend of mine ask me, a very prominent person. He says to me, well, you're number one on the New York Times list. Actually, we heard today we're going to be number one for the second week with the Liberty Amendments. He said, have any of the major media contacted you? Now, to be fair, I don't deal with them and I don't contact them. He said, what about Charlie Rose on CBS? I said, nope. He said, what about the Today Show? Nope. What about Good Morning America? Nope. Nor do I give a damn. Then he asks, you've had all these best-selling books, substantive books on politics, philosophy, the Constitution. Has the New York Times ever done a book review? Now, ladies and gentlemen, trust me, if they did a book review, it would be an attack, a cheap shot attack. But still he wanted it, and I said, no, they haven't done any. He said, wow, you're really the outsider. Yes, I am. I am the outsider, and that's perfectly fine by me. I don't need a pat on the back from these people. And it's going to stay that way. You're the people I communicate with. You're the people I care about. When I go to a book signing, thousands of people show up. Do you know how blessed I am? It's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. In addition, other than some outstanding bloggers on some outstanding websites, even a number of these traditional conservative outlets, they pretend nothing's going on too because they don't agree or they don't want to engage, whatever it is. It's just bizarre. But I don't worry about that either. But I've been asked about it. So you can't worry about these things. But I've had it up to here. Here, my eyeballs. I've had it up to here with a whole lot of them because they're part of the problem. They're in on this process, despite every now and then an editorial or a comment, we've got to limit government or we've got to change the way Medicare works or whatever. They're not serious people. They're not substantive. They're not really trying to think outside the liberal box and find ways to muscle through this. They're just not. It's one big mush. Now, I'm more than happy to compare my 40 years in the conservative movement with anything and everything this Grover Norquist has ever done. And as an entertainer, quote unquote, I'm prepared to compare, well, let me go down to his level. My IQ, my college and law school transcripts, whatever he wants. I'll measure it any way he wants. But the fact of the matter is, Norquist is no conservative. Oh, yes, he's good on the tax issue. But he's not good on any other issue that I'm aware of. Well, that's not a conservative. That's being good on the tax issue. Where does he stand on the Constitution? Where does he stand with organizations like CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood? Where does he stand on radical groups like LULAC and La Raza? Well, he stands on the wrong side. That's where he stands. Is that a conservative, ladies and gentlemen? So when the Hill newspaper writes that he's a conservative leader, how is he a conservative leader? When did this happen? Because he puts out this goofy pledge? We need a little bit more than pledges, ladies and gentlemen. Well, he's certainly not my leader. I'll be right back.
Where Americans meet to defend liberty and defeat tyranny. Call the Mark Levin Show now at 877-381-3811.
You know, I think out of all the wonderful interviews and so forth and reviews of my book, mostly on the internet and some on Fox, was that 1 hour special with Sean Hannity. Don't you think, Mr. Producer? Wasn't that amazing? It was incredible. A full hour, 30 minutes of discussing the state convention process, the proposed amendments, not just to promote a book, but to actually discuss it, almost like a documentary. It was like old-time TV. And then a wonderful audience of about 15 truly intelligent conservatives and libertarians, asking intelligent questions, not yelling at each other, not interrupting, waiting for an answer and then responding. That was a magnificent hour of television. And not just because I was there. Let's put me aside. That's the kind of good stuff that can be done on cable TV and Fox and other stations. It was almost like when I was much younger, obviously, watching these Milton Friedman episodes on public television. They were about an hour long, his book Free to Choose. It was produced, more thoroughly. He would go to actual sites like Hong Kong and so forth, or factory plants, and make his presentation and then take questions. Anyway, I just felt, you know what, Mr. Producer, let us go ahead and link that again on our social sites. Because if people didn't see it, you should really look at it not just because I'm talking about the Liberty Amendments, but look at the quality of the substance of that program, the way Hannity anchored it as the host, the way the audience participated, the truly civil back and forth, even among conservatives and libertarians where there are certain disagreements, discussion about the Constitution, discussion about our history, discussion about what's going on in our country today. In all my years of being on cable TV, and it's been a long time now as a guest, and as you well know, I don't really do it anymore, except from time to time, but I used to do it a lot. In all my years of doing it, it's over 10 years now, that has to be the best 1 hour of cable TV I've ever been involved in, and maybe any of you have ever watched. I don't know. But if you haven't watched it, we're going to go ahead and put it up on my social sites, Mark Levin Show Facebook, Mark Levin Show Twitter. I'm still hearing about it. I'm still getting emails about it. Depending on what happens in Syria, they may be running it again over the weekend. I don't know. But it was, to me, it was really meaningful. It was great television. And I want to thank my buddy Sean Hannity, and I want to thank everybody who came in the audience there, and Fox for doing it. Just spectacular. All right, don't mean to bring it down, but I want you to hear a little bit of Obama today. We're not going to overdo it. Many of you heard his speech, and as I was listening to it, I thought, about 75% of this speech is not too bad. And then when he finished and it was over, I said to myself, well, what the hell is this? It's one platitude taped to the next, taped to the next. I'll give you an example. Cut one, go.
And then there were those elected officials who found it useful to practice the old politics of division, doing their best to convince middle-class Americans of a great untruth, that government was somehow itself to blame for their growing economic insecurity, that distant bureaucrats were taking their hard-earned dollars to benefit the welfare cheat or the illegal immigrant.
This is remarkable to me. The evidence is everywhere that the government, the federal government, is operated by this president, he's not the only one, is making the nation poorer. The evidence is everywhere. In the unemployment figures, in the income figures, in the housing figures, in the food stamp figures, in the disability insurance figures. The evidence is everywhere that the bigger and more bloated the government is getting, the more aggressive it's getting, the more centralized it's getting, the more misery. It's not a matter of convincing the middle class, quote unquote. The middle class is living it, as is every other so-called class in America. And I'm so sick of this class stuff. We don't have classes. There's no caste system in America. All this progressive claptrap language, borrowed from Karl Marx himself. There is no middle class. They're Americans. Can't even define the middle class, as I explained in Liberty and Tyranny. To deny that we're being regulated to death, to deny that the federal government is ubiquitous, to deny that we're being overwhelmed, with rules and regulations, whether it's health care, whether it's automobile fuel, whether it's the workplace, whatever it is to lie. The president went on. Cut two, go.
And our politics has suffered. Entrenched interests, those who benefit from an unjust status quo, resisted any government efforts to give working families a fair deal, marshaling an army of lobbyists and opinion makers to argue that minimum wage increases or stronger labor laws or taxes on the wealthy who could afford it just to fund crumbling schools, that all these things violated sound economic principles.
Stop it. Just because he yells louder doesn't make it right. Marshaling an army of lobbyists. Folks, are you marshaling an army of lobbyists? I'm not. Are you? Well, he's attacking you and me. And opinion makers to argue the minimum wage increases, stronger labor laws, or taxes on the wealthy. All right, let's do it. Minimum wage increases, stronger labor laws, and taxes on the wealthy. How does any of that create wealth, create opportunities, create jobs? It does none of those things. It does the opposite. It's an empirical fact. Where are all the lobbyists lobbying for capitalism in Washington? This is a joke. Where are they? Now, they may be lobbying for corporations. They may be lobbying for unions. They may be lobbying for contractors or consultants or whatever. They're not lobbying for free market capitalism. Who are those lobbyists? What are their names? Stronger labor laws or taxes on the wealthy. What is this wealthy? Who's wealthy? What does that mean? Oh, the top 1%. Oh, the top 2%. Oh, anybody who earns over this amount. Oh, anybody who earns over 100,000. Slippery slope. It keeps changing. Stronger labor laws? Like what? Like what? Let's continue. Go ahead. Oh, and crumbling schools. Crumbling schools. There are answers to this. Obama spent $1 trillion on shovel-ready jobs, he said. And according to Paul Ryan, $9 billion of it went into construction. $1 trillion, that would have fixed up a hell of a lot of public schools, ladies and gentlemen. So the man who wasted $1 trillion of your dollars and apparently didn't accomplish a hell of a lot of it because he's up there talking about it, is now up there talking about we need more money, more taxes. Who does this? Who does this on the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King? See, the civil rights movement, quote unquote, has become a big government socialist movement, having zero to do with civil rights, having zero to do with individual liberty, having zero to do with job creation and opportunity creation. The real civil rights movement, ladies and gentlemen, are those people who are involved in doing what? Promoting liberty. Liberty. Since when does an all-powerful central government becoming increasingly authoritarian promote liberty? Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
We'd be told that growing inequality was a price for a growing economy.
Stop. No, we haven't. Inequality is created, economic inequality is created, not just by the economic system, but by government dislocation. If you're going to encourage less people to work and more people to participate in a growing entitlement society, then they are not going to earn as much as people who choose not to. The greatest income inequality is in places like Zimbabwe or in places like Saudi Arabia. In other words, in places where you have these highly centralized governments, one form of totalitarianism or another. Let's go to cut 3, Mr. Producer. Go.
But the good news is, just as was true in 1963, we now have a choice. We can continue down our current path.
Let's stop a second. I'll tell you something that I find annoying, and this is not intended to be a personal slight. His cadence. I find his cadence to be very annoying. Same with Bill Clinton. I find their cadence to be very annoying because it seems very practiced and very abnormal. Just an observation. Go ahead.
The gears of this great democracy grind to a halt, and our children accept a life of lower expectations. where politics is a zero-sum game.
All right, stop. Our children accept a life of lower expectations. Our children are not accepting anything. They're children. And you, sir, through your profligate deficit spending, through your massive debt creation, you, sir, are doing more to grind to a halt our children's acceptance of a life of lower expectations, as you put it, than anybody I know. Anybody I know. The burdens that you are imposing on America's children and babies yet born is astronomical and unconscionable and immoral. I have a dream for so many of these children will be dead as a result of your own policies. Well, the AARP, ladies and gentlemen, the AARP, well, they support Obamacare, encourage reckless government spending, and want to curb your Second Amendment rights. And if you want a conservative alternative that supports our Constitution, believes in limited government, supports the rights of gun owners and protecting the sanctity of life, then you need to join AMAC. And I urge you to go to amac.us right now and to learn all about it. AMAC offers all of the same medical, dental, vision, and prescription benefits you'd expect, as well as exclusive discounts and travel benefits. And what they don't offer is support of a dangerous, radical agenda and more reckless spending out of Washington. And I'm a proud AMAC member, and I highly encourage you to become one too, because together we can help keep America strong. Visit amac.us now and join with us. Again, that's amac.us, not .com. Visit amac.us or call 888-262-2006. That's 888-262-2006. Give them a call right now or go to amac.us.
Mark Levin.
Let's see what we have here. How about a call? How about Greg, Washington, D.C., the great WMAL. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, sir. I catch your program from time to time when I get off work. And I'm sorry I didn't make it to Tyson's Corner because I work at Douglas. Congratulations on the book. But I'm African-American. I'm 40 years old. And I wanted to tell the public something that they don't know about Washington, D.C. And a little bit about you. I'm not conservative, but I'm independent. That means I learn and I listen. You listen before you react. And something about K Street. You mentioned something about Grover Norquist and, the article. I would want you to moderate the Republican debate because here's why I singled out you. All due respect to Sean and Hannity, to Hannity and Rush Limbaugh, the media will make it seem like it was about them. But see, with you were asked direct questions because African Americans need to listen. You're a teacher. I learned some things listening to you, and I hear you always talk about the Landmark Legal Foundation. That's another thing you guys got to know out there. And one thing about K Street, and you was in the Reagan administration, it's a different side of K Street other than lobbyists that, some people don't know about. It was the bad side of K Street. It was prostitutes out there. It was all types of games. So when Mark Levin mentioned that he's a K Street lobbyist, I just want the American people to also know he's a K Street shyster. That means... All
right. I don't want to get in trouble now, Greg.
I'm not going to get in trouble. I apologize. But I want the public to know that there's a lot that people don't know about. And also, as an African-American, Obama made his speech. Congratulations. It made everybody happy, I guess. But I was appalled about Jesse Jackson Jr. And the thing is, his father came up there and said he had I guess some type of, ailment or whatever. As an African-American and one who's been through the legal system, this is what happened. Jesse Jackson Jr. got caught and he got scared. Stop playing them games. I don't like the games. The person Jesse Jackson Jr. needed to meet was a federal judge named Thomas Penfield Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Penfield Jackson would have let Jesse Jackson Jr. know, you want to take from the people, which is us, you should serve your time just like an ordinary person. I don't know who the judge was. I called a couple of weeks ago. One of your call screeners told me who she is. It's appalling. To me, as an African-American, I feel that's appalling. Because
let me tell you this. He took an awful lot of money. What did he get, 2.5 years?
Yes. Yes. And you sit right there and use a medical disability. No. Stop playing the games, because you know what? And I respect Ted Cruz, because Ted Cruz, he went through a primary and won his Senate seat. Mm-hmm. One thing about Jesse Jackson Jr. and Cory Booker, events happened that put them in a position to try to get to a Senate seat. Cory Booker's in the position he is because I believe a senator died. I might be wrong, but, I try to catch up with events. And as far as Jesse Jackson Jr., Obama, he was a senator. Then the governor had access to it, and a whole lot of shadiness came into play. I mean, you could say Tea Party this, you could say Tea Party that, but at least they had the gall to sit right there, come speak to me as an African-American, and be straight up. I respect you because you recognize the bull. I respect you as a man. I respect you as an American.
Well, you're great, Greg. I really appreciate it. If you ever see me roaming around at Dulles Airport, I don't just roam around, but from time to time I fly in and out of there. I hope you'll come up to me, buddy. Don't hang up. I'm going to send you a signed copy of the Liberty Amendments, Greg. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a hell of a next 2 hours coming. I hope you'll stick with me. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. I have to address one thing, then I want to move on, and this is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton cannot control himself in so many ways. May I say, ready for this? He's a real putz, the guy. He just is a putz. No, he's not a statesman. He never has been, and he never will be. Look at that foundation. What a bunch of crony, dishonest activity going on there. Everything this guy touches is sleazy. But here he was at the ceremony. I want you to listen to this. Just listen to the demagogue. Cut 4, go.
We cannot be discouraged by a Supreme Court decision that said we don't need this critical provision of the Voting Rights Act because look at the states. It made it harder for African Americans and Hispanics and students and the elderly and the infirm and poor working folks to vote.
Stop. How so? The elderly, infirm, and poor working folks. Any of you folks on Medicare and Medicaid? Well, you need an official government ID. You need a number. You need all sorts of information. Have you ever worked with the bureaucracy in Medicare and Medicaid? Poor folks, infirm folks, elderly folks? Of course you have. How about the VA? How about the Internal Revenue Service? This is the big lie, ladies and gentlemen. If only everything was as easy as acquiring a government photo ID, if only. Do these jerks who created the tax code ever look at it? Well, what about the elderly and the infirm and students that have to deal with that? Or look at Obamacare, this monstrosity. What about the elderly, the infirm, and students have to deal with that? everything you do with the government, in fact, everything the government does to you, involves a layer of rules and requirements and understandings and comprehension and all the rest. And we're talking about getting a photographic ID from the government for free. And look at all the tumult they hope to create. Look at all the drama around it. How many of you do not, let's try it this way. How many of you do not have a photo ID from some form of government? I'll bet it's 1/1000%. The ACLU and the litigation against states is having a hell of a time finding you if you're out there. And what is it? The infirm, the elderly, students, the poor, minorities aren't smart enough or don't know people who can help them acquire government photographic IDs? Now who's the racist? Now who's discriminating? The phony civil rights leaders. I mean, for crying out loud, illegal immigrants who are illiterate in their own language know how to get a photo ID in this country. Who don't have two coins to rub together. This is just so outrageous. It's so contemptible. But it also shows you what a great country we are. That where's the racism today? Oh, well, you can't get a photo ID. That's it? Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
What do you know? They showed up, stood in line for hours, and voted anyway. So obviously we don't.
So obviously you don't know what you're talking about, you big dummy. With that goofy, bulbous W.C. Fields nose of yours. That's right, I said it. But you stood in line anyway and you voted. Well, that's what we do. Since I was a kid working at precincts, you stand in line and you vote. Well, you see how long the line is? Yeah, it was long when I was 13 years old, too. No, it's discrimination. Really? What else did he say? Go ahead.
Any kind of law. But a great democracy does not make it harder to vote than to buy an assault weapon.
Wow. Who came up with that clever line? So many lies in that line, it's hard to break it up. There's no such thing as an assault weapon, ladies and gentlemen, unless a weapon is actually used to assault somebody. They're inanimate objects. So if it's a pistol or a rifle or a hybrid and it's on the desk, it's not an assault weapon. It's a firearm. Unless you pick that up and assault somebody illegally, then it's not an assault weapon. But even then it's not an assault weapon. You're an assault weapon. You are, because you misused a firearm. Just like you're an assault weapon, if you drive drunk and you hit somebody. If you get my drift. But the language doesn't seem to matter anymore. But he says here, great democracy doesn't make it harder to vote than to buy an assault weapon. Now, many of us actually purchased firearms. And you have to fill out a form. And depending on the firearm, you not only have to show one form of photographic identification, you have to show something else, like a passport, like a birth certificate. The government tells you. The state government, and in some cases, depending on the firearm, the federal government, what it is that you have to show. But nobody just walks in and out. Now, there's certain purchases from private citizen to private citizen in a number of states. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the overwhelming abundance of firearms that are purchased. People sit down, they fill out forms. Those forms are sent into a database, usually within the state, to see if you're a criminal, if there's some other prohibition. Usually takes 10 minutes these days. It might take an hour, given the fear people have about what the government's trying to do endlessly to the Second Amendment. But I want you to look in your wallet or your purse, or if you're transgendering, just look. Do you have a photographic ID or not? Yes, you do, don't you? So what's Bill Clinton going on about here? A non-issue. A non-issue. As for the Voting Rights Act, ladies and gentlemen, because many of you probably aren't familiar with it and you keep hearing that it's been eviscerated, if anybody listening to me, I don't care what race you are, I don't care what gender you are, I don't care what kind of sex you have, I don't care who you are, if you're an American citizen and you've been denied the right to vote for a number of reasons under federal law and the Voting Rights Act, especially and including race, you have a federal cause of action. You had it before the Supreme Court ruled this summer, and you still have it. All the Supreme Court said was essentially, we have some states and counties here where the Justice Department's so-called Civil Rights Division has complete control over their voting methods, over their districting, over everything that goes on in that county or that state related to voting. And yet, under the formula that they're using that's been in place in these statutes, there's no evidence that an entire state or an entire county should any longer be under this control by the bureaucrats at the Justice Department. And the federal government had every opportunity to prove otherwise. In district court, in circuit court, in the Supreme Court, and they couldn't. They couldn't. They couldn't show that there is state discrimination, poll taxes, literacy tests, if you will, or other forms of discrimination based on race. They couldn't prove it. Try as they might, they couldn't prove it. That's why that provision of the Voting Rights Act was thrown out. Not because people are being denied the right to vote in Texas or Alabama or anywhere else. Or a county in Pennsylvania, for that matter. They were thrown out because the act has actually worked. So now they have a new issue, the voter ID with a photograph on it. Oh, my God, it's so unreasonable. It's like climbing a mountain. How do I get it? Well, here's a free cell phone. Really? Where do I go? Here's a new government Oh, really? Let me get my piece of the action. What a joke. All right, I dealt with that. I needed to deal with that. I want to read you something. Some of you have heard it before if you listen to this program. This is Article 5, the relevant part in the Constitution. And I'm going to read it to you, and then I want to ask you a question. Who wrote it? The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or, on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, not a constitutional convention, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states or by conventions in 3/4 thereof. Who wrote that? Mark, what a dumb question. Obviously, the framers of the Constitution wrote it. You said it's part of the Constitution. Then what kind of a stupid objection is it when somebody says or writes, well, Madison and Franklin and the others at the Constitutional Convention in 1787, if you think you can do a better job than them, there's something wrong with you. They wrote this. They wrote this not because they thought that somebody in the future would do a better job than them. They wrote this. It was a gift to us to allow us to find a way out should the federal government become oppressive. How do we know this? Because they said it. It's in Madison's notes. So it's not a matter of are we smarter than the framers of the Constitution? Do I or others pretend to be smarter than James Madison? They crafted this language. They voted on this language. They adopted this language. The states ratified this language. It's not a matter of us being smarter or better than James Madison. It's a matter of us embracing James Madison, and even more particularly, George Mason. one of the unsung great founding fathers in this country. They put this language in there for a purpose. For you. For me. So, once again, it is absurd to say that people who look at this as a way for addressing what's going on in our country today, for trying to breathe life back into the Constitution, for trying to restore the American Republic, are somehow distorting the Constitution or think they're better than or smarter than the Founding Fathers, when in fact it's the opposite. Because unlike the left, we don't seek to change the Constitution by unconstitutional means, through a court decision, through a federal regulation, through a presidential fiat, or through some legislative monstrosity. We seek to follow what the framers gave us in order to keep what the framers gave us. More when I return.
Mark Levin.
I hope you folks are proud and getting invigorated and excited and so forth, because this is a remarkable thing. The Liberty Amendments is now number one for the second week in every nonfiction category in the New York Times. 2 weeks in a row. That's you, because you're interested in this process. Don't allow other people to deter you, to confuse you. You know, some people are making comments on the Internet. I don't look at them, but I'm told, well, they say this. What about this? It's all answered in the book. And the book is very accessible. It's not complicated. Step by step by step. And I think you'll find a lot of it intriguing. And you got Labor Day weekend coming up very, very shortly. Some of you can just download it on your ebook. Boom, very quickly. Others of you can get it from Amazon. Or just grab it. Really, it's everywhere and anywhere. And stick it in your suitcase or your purse or throw it in your car, what have you. If you're flying this weekend, I'm not, but some are. The book is at airports. Take it with you. Read it. Take a look at it. You don't need to be confused or concerned or have other people influence you. You'll understand it. And I think a light bulb's going to go off, as it has with a lot of people, as it did with me, and go, wait a minute. This is right. It's right. The framers were right. And what I try to do is put you back then in that constitutional convention with the framers. Tea Party patriots, it's time for all of you to take a little road trip to D.C. You see, on September 10th, or 9/10, Congress will take up the continuing resolution, which basically decides how much of your money they're going to spend on the federal government. So also on 9/10, thousands of Tea Party patriots are converging on the Capitol to demand that Congress use the continuing resolution to stop funding and exempt America from Obamacare. Congress promised us they'd get rid of it, didn't they? They've exempted their friends. They've exempted themselves. They've exempted big business. They've exempted big labor. They've exempted big government. On September 10th, that is 9/10, join the Tea Party patriots and thousands of your fellow patriots and tell them they must exempt America. And unless we show up and speak up, we can't count on Congress to keep their promises of ending Obamacare. So go to exemptamerica.com. That's exemptamerica.com. Find out how you can attend this critical national rally. That's exemptamerica.com. And visitors to exemptamerica.com can also get a free bumper sticker. The more, the merrier. Let's put them on every vehicle we can. So join the Tea Party patriots and thousands of fellow patriots. Go to exemptamerica.com. All right, let's see who we have here. How about we go to Justin, Effingham, Illinois, the great WCRA. Go.
Hey, Mark, I really appreciate everything you're doing. And it was actually your teaching that assisted me on Monday when I met with my Congressman, John Shimkus. I asked him about the chances of defunding Obamacare, and Mr. Shimkus, while cordial, was obviously a politician, and he told me all that would accomplish was shutting down the government. And my response to him was, it's happened before, it'll happen again. I don't see that that's something to be feared. And he told me that it's only happened once before. But because I'm an avid listener, I was able to cite that it happened several times during the Reagan administration and before that. He told me that that was not the case. But I stood my ground. And
Congressman Shimkus said it was only shut down once before. I don't know Congressman Shimkus. Why would he deceive you like that?
One time is what he said, and only during the Clinton administration. He said,
well, Congressman Shimkus, thank you, Justin. Why don't you go on Google or Bling, do a little research? It's not hard. Take you all of what, 20 seconds? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, Liberty's General Patton. Call into the Mark Levin Show now at 877-381-3811.
You know, another great friend of this show is my buddy Matt Drudge. I'll tell you something about Matt Drudge. Look at this guy's integrity. Look at his homepage every day. Now, you all do, and I do too. He puts things up there that nobody else would report on. And he's got an incredible sense for journalism, too, with the titles he uses, the graphics that he uses. I mean, think about it. What would we do without the Drudge Report? There's a lot of great sites out there, so I'm not trying to diminish anybody, so don't misunderstand. But I'm just saying he's like the forefather of this, the genre, if it is a genre. And he's been very supportive. I also did an interview for with Rush Limbaugh for his newsletter. The minute I learn about it, when it's going to be out and so forth, I'll let you know. Because that was very, very kind to him as well. And much appreciated. It was a great interview, by the way. He knows how to ask questions. I'm not a great interviewer, I've concluded. I mean, I know what my strengths are and I know what my weaknesses are, but I don't interview people that well. Some of you may disagree, but that's just my own assessment. All right, let's take a few calls here. Let's see. Let us go to Chris, Lakeland, Florida. How are you, Chris?
Hey, great one. I really, really enjoy your program.
Thank you.
I thought I would mention something that I went through during the past few years because I keep hearing about the problems with voting and voting rights. And I've lived in inner cities, and I now live in a rural area, and I don't understand where the voting problem is. So I looked it up. We all vote in precincts. Doesn't matter where you are in the country. You vote in a precinct. That's where you go to vote. I don't understand where the lines are because I've been in every kind of place. So I looked it up. The precinct.
We're running out of time. Get right to it, bud. Go ahead.
Where I live, my precinct is 1,000 people, a little over 1,000 people. But the largest precinct in the country is a little over 2,000 people, and that's in Kansas. I do not understand where people come up with this idea that there are these long lines that are not perhaps exaggerated, because there's not a bigger precinct in the entire country than a little over 2,000 that's in Kansas.
Well, I will tell you this. There may be occasional slip-ups, when you have electronic machines, mechanical devices, imperfect human beings, and all that sort of thing. But as a rule, nationwide, there's really not an issue. So they concoct this thing.
High school.
What is it?
It's still the size of a high school.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I'm explaining when they say look at the long lines and so forth. It's not as if all day long thousands and thousands of people, I'm making your point, are lined up from 6 or 7 in the morning till 7, 8, 9, 10 at night. That's just not the case.
We have early voting. We have multiple days of voting. We have mail-in ballots, and it's 2,000 people for the largest precinct in the country.
And here's the thing, 2,000 or not, if you can't figure out how to vote before Election Day, on Election Day, absentee voting and all the rest, you're a pretty scary person.
That'd be a great one.
I don't know how the hell you can vote, period. Do you know how to use the lever or to fill out a form? Let me ask you this. If you don't know how, let's take it this way. If you don't know how to get a voter ID for free, a government ID for free, how the hell you fill out your income taxes?
How do you get your benefits?
How do you even get a stamp to put on an envelope? But you're right. When you sign up for unemployment insurance, how do you get that? How do you get anything? It's just so bogus and preposterous. Thank you for your call. All right. Sorry, buddy. There we go. Let's see. How about Michael in Maryland, the great WMAL? How are you, sir?
Fine, sir. First, let me congratulate you on another one of your bestseller list. Congratulations and happy New Year.
Well, thank you. That's thanks to all of you. Well, happy Rosh Hashanah to you too, sir.
Thank you. I would like to comment, and thank you for saying that. I would like to comment on the idea of school choice that you mentioned 25 years ago. The Landmark Legal Foundation had a state Supreme Court decision that allows people to go to schools of their own choice. I can testify.
And that was the seminal decision that caused other towns and states, in some to the extent they did, to follow suit and really caught on. And one of the people that we had spoken to at length was Dr. Milton Friedman, who came up with the idea, and we worked with the local community and the local black state representative who was involved at the time, Polly Williams. Go right ahead.
Well, Dr. Milton Friedman was a genius and prolific, and I've read most of his books. But let me go on. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in a working-class neighborhood where my parents did not earn a lot of money. My father was the sole supporter of the family. He had to drop out of high school because his father died, and my mother was a housewife, and my parents chose to send me to a local parochial, i.e. Catholic school. And the reason why they sent me there was because they were shocked and dismayed at how poor the public schools were run. In addition to learning reading... And
I take it you're Jewish, right?
I am not Jewish. I happen to be of Italian Catholic, but I grew up in Brooklyn, so, I know a lot of Yiddish. I'll put it that way.
Apparently so.
Yeah, because I goes into you as well. Anyway, so I grew up in a Catholic school, and they taught reading, writing, and arithmetic. And by the way, when we'd come out of church on Sunday, this is just an aside, there was a Knish man there, and who also happened to be Jewish. So I learned a lot of Yiddish from him. So I knew the schmear was on a bagel. But my point being...
Yeah, she's right. We got to hurry. Go.
Okay, in addition to learning, the basics, they taught us about ethics and about religion and about morality. And needless to say, I went on to finish high school, college, and then I got a graduate assistantships to go to the University of Pennsylvania, which, as you know, is an Ivy League. And for somebody who grew up...
You got 30 seconds.
Somebody who grew up in a low-class, working-class neighborhood to go to the Ivy League school, I attribute it to the Catholic education. The public schools, the NEA runs the unions, and these liberal frauds that support them should look in the mirror and say, how can they live with themselves?
You know why? This would create an educational revolution. It would break up the monopoly. It would be so fantastic, particularly for poor neighborhoods, poor areas. The reforms would be absolutely breathtaking, and yet, as long as we have Democrats in control and some Republicans, it's never going to happen. It's a crying shame. Michael, thank you for your call, my friend, but it's a crying shame. All these people get up, they start these civil rights groups, they pay themselves handsomely, they They run to the White House. They go to social events. They want to be seen on TV. Honestly, folks, it's just such a fraud. It's such a disgrace. Bill Clinton getting up there, going on and on about voter ID, and Holder and the other. Well, I mean, and Colin Powell. These people are an embarrassment, disgrace, to take an issue like this and try and demagogue it. All right, let's go to Frank, New York, the great WABC. Go.
Mark, it's a pleasure to talk to you. You are one of the greatest, if not the greatest. Anyway,
Wow.
I mean, I was listening to Bill Clinton, and he's talking about students being disenfranchised. I mean, maybe he was talking about kindergarten students, but I don't know of a college in the United States that doesn't require a photo ID.
Yeah, what the hell is he talking about? I mean, it's so ridiculous.
He doesn't know. And, I looked at the MO of the liberals. They want to create a victim class. There are people.
Well, they've done a hell of a good job of it.
Yes, while the conservatives are looking for people to lift their spirits and become achievers, the liberals want to keep people in that victim mindset.
You're right, and you can hear it in their speeches endlessly.
Yeah, and it's what a disservice to the American people. What a smack in the face to elderly and minorities to say you can't achieve, you can't overcome, because everything is against you. No. They are against the minorities and the students. But can you think of a college that doesn't require a college ID photo? I mean, I went to college in the 70s.
Of course not.
Boston, and they all have college ID requirements.
Can you think of a government building that doesn't require an ID? Can you think of a government program that doesn't require an ID? Can you think of a place that sells booze that doesn't require an ID, that sells cigarettes? Can you think of a bank or a financial institution that doesn't require an ID? Can you think of an airport that doesn't require an ID, a train station that doesn't require an ID, a rental car company that doesn't require an ID? I mean, my God, is this some kind of a joke?
Job requires a photo ID, and I'm sure you have a photo ID for your...
Well, of course I have a photo ID. I drive an automobile.
Yes, everybody does. I'm sure that's like Rush Limbaugh calls the low information people.
Yeah, well, I call them the drones. It's even worse.
My God, Mark, it's so disheartening to think that so many Americans can be fooled. But you know what? You can't fool all the people all of the time.
On this, I don't think Americans are fooled. I think this is a big joke, and the politicians keep talking about it. And the idiot attorney general and the idiots in the civil rights division, this is their new cause, photo IDs. I mean, this is a joke. All right, thank you for your call, my friend. I really appreciate it. And I really do. And I appreciate all these great calls tonight, and they are. Terrific. Now, you all know by now that I'm a huge fan of Hillsdale College, and one of my dearest friends is Dr. Larry Arnn, the president of Hillsdale College. It's under his leadership that Hillsdale is one of the most important, best colleges in the United States. Hillsdale College is very difficult to get into, though, and they're always flooded with applications from the best and the brightest high school students from across the nation who want to receive a life-changing education. Now, if you know of a stellar, honorable, proud American high school student, you owe it to him or her to tell them about Hillsdale College. So please go to levinforhillsdale.com right now. That's Levin for Hillsdale.com. Order a free information and admissions packet. You can also give out the website, to the student to order the packet and to learn more about what it means to pursue truth and defend liberty. That's levinforhillsdale.com. The prayer placed inside the 1853 cornerstone of Central Hall on the campus at Hillsdale reflects their continuing commitment. It says this: "May earth be better and heaven be richer because of the life and labor of Hillsdale College." So go to levinforhillsdale.com.
Mark Levin.
Tony in Maryland, the great WMAL. Go.
Mark, this is Tony from Merrick, Long Island.
Oh, Merrick, well, you can blame, hold on now, slow down. You can blame Mr. Call Screener for that one. Merrick, Long Island, doesn't sound like Maryland, Mike.
It's okay, it's okay. I'm on the phone with the great one.
Oh,
Listen,
wait a minute.
It's okay, it's okay. Listen, I went into Cablevision yesterday because I had to swap my box out for a different box. I already have an account. So the girl asked me for a photo.
Hold on, can you prove that, sir?
Yes, I can prove that.
All right, go right ahead.
It's in Freeport. Anyway.
The call. Okay. Let us go to David, Route 1, Delaware, XM satellite. I assume you're driving a vehicle.
I am, and I'm using a hands-free device.
Really? Well, in Virginia, we don't have to. It's still, we still have a little bit of freedom in the Commonwealth.
Mark, this is a real pleasure. I can't tell you. It's a real pleasure to get the chance to talk to you.
Thank you, sir.
I can't think of a reason why I would vote for someone like Barack Obama because of his politics. But on the night that Barack Obama was elected president of the United States, there was a part of me that was proud to see what was happening. And I remember Juan Williams from Fox News. You know, Juan's a great guy. He's one of those liberals who's normal. You can have. It seems like he's the kind of a guy that you can have a normal conversation with. They gave him a few seconds. You know, being I think he's black and Latino. They gave him a few seconds to talk about how he felt about what he was seeing there. And he took his heart and he put it on his sleeve, and the tears were rolling down his face. And he said, "This is the greatest country in the world. There is no country in the world where they could say that a man of color from a minority group rose to become the leader of that country, and in this case, the leader of the free world." And at today's rally, you don't hear that. You didn't hear from any of the prominent speakers. You don't hear anybody say, "Hey, look, this is a great country. We've come a long way. We have our differences. We're not perfect, but there is no country in the world that's done what the United States of America does to correct its mistakes." And here we have a man who was elected not once but twice, and he's a black man. And I think that was the most unfortunate thing about.
Well, that's a very good point. And I'll tell you what else I noticed, and I didn't watch the whole thing. Not all, but many of the individuals on that podium in front of the Lincoln Memorial were extremely accomplished, wealthy, or otherwise well-to-do individuals.
Right.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. But damn few of them have actually produced anything, invented anything, created jobs for anybody else. The vast majority of them, not all of them like Oprah, but the vast majority of them are creatures of government. Whether it's Bill Clinton and Carter or some of the others. You had a guy there from Hollywood. The name escapes me, and so forth. So there's such a disconnect, I feel, in the community with average people. And this group of speakers, unlike 50 years ago, when these people really were freedom fighters, when they really were brave, courageous people, fighting against in many counties and states, a truly tyrannical system. And you're quite right. I mean, the message that needs to get out there is one of individual responsibility, motivation, hard work, success. But everything comes back to one thing with the speakers, whatever their race was up there. Government, government, and more government. Did you notice that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, if they're not being critical in some way, shape, or form about the United States of America and its history, they're always saying that the answer to everybody's problems is government. It's a shame because people in the inner city, that's why they continue to feel, people of minority groups feel that they're being repressed, because that's the message that's always going out there.
And I'll tell you what, if one generation after another is indoctrinated about victimology, they're indoctrinated about government is the source of sustenance and so forth, then, 2, 3, 4 generations, it's very, very difficult to reverse course. And I'm not just talking about blacks and Hispanics and Asian, but whites too, whomever. whatever the ethnicity or the color. David, thank you for listening, my friend. Much appreciated. I don't think much is going to be remembered about what took place today on the 50th anniversary in front of the Lincoln Monument, the Lincoln Memorial. I really don't. You want to know why? Other than praising Martin Luther King in terms of what's going on in the country today, there wasn't a hell of a lot for these folks to say. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. This is the Power Hour. You don't want to miss it. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Syria. Well, what do you want to know about the situation? We have Muslims slaughtering Muslims all over the Middle East. So no change there. You have Muslims slaughtering Christians, Muslim wanting to slaughter Jews. On the Drudge Report, the intelligence committees say they're not being properly consulted by Obama. You know what annoys me about this? Do members of Congress understand that Obama is an imperial president and he doesn't give a damn what they think or say? Have they figured that out yet? When you have the Speaker of the House running around, oh, we're never going to shut down the government, and others talking about, oh, don't use the I word, oh, don't use it. They've made themselves impotent. So why should Obama? I mean, seriously, unless he has an affinity for the Constitution, which he doesn't, at least not ours, why would he listen to them? There's no upside to listen to them, and no downside if he doesn't. So the intelligence committees aren't being properly consulted. Big whoop. Meanwhile, John Boehner, why doesn't John Boehner call the House in session? He can call the House in session and demand that the president present the House of Representatives. You know, Harry Reid's off doing whatever the hell he does. Probably getting a new set of false teeth. But John Boehner, he can call the House back and publicly state that the House has not been presented with any information or any request to authorize anything. But he doesn't. Sits there like a bump on the log. Actually, you know what he's doing? He's raising tons of money for his own PAC in Washington and other places. And I'm hearing this all over the country from some of my friends who've attended these things. Here's how Boehner, in part, holds on to his power, just so you know. He's an incredible fundraiser, and he spends every waking hour where he's not roaming around the halls in Capitol Hill saying, hey, we're only one half of one. But anyway, John Boehner, he's raising a fortune for his PAC. And what does he do? Well, what do you think? If you support him as Speaker and support his program, he gives you a ton of money. If you don't, he gives you nothing. So I thought you'd want to know. But let's go refocus here for a minute. So Syria. I've never seen a president of the United States making public pronouncements about what we're going to do. It won't be days and days. It'll be a few hours. We just want to, it's not regime change. It's not what the hell are you doing there, pal? What are you doing? Telling the whole world what it's not going to be. What can we possibly do in a couple of hours that's going to stop this guy? I mean, seriously. What can we possibly do in a couple hours that's going to stop this guy, particularly when he has Russia and China on his side advocating for him? So what is the point of all of this? So we should discuss this endlessly. No, we shouldn't. We'll see what happens. So let's say that Iran quote, rains thousands of missiles, unquote, down on the Jewish state, Israel, then what are we going to do, the United States? Because our action in Syria would have, at least theoretically, according to them, caused Iran to attack Israel. And let me say this to our Israeli friends. Some people aren't going to like this. If Iran rains thousands of missiles down on you, then you have no choice than to unleash a couple of your missiles. It's our understanding, and maybe our understanding is incorrect, that you don't have the technology at this point, unless you've developed it without our knowledge, and I hope you have, to get down deep enough into these bunkers underground to effectively destroy the Iranian nuclear power facilities. But you do have one weapon that can do it. You know what that is, Mr. Producer? They have tactical nuclear weapons. I'm not encouraging it. I'm just saying for those of us who don't think Israel can defend itself, oh, she can. And if push comes to shove, my guess is she will. And she may be outnumbered by tens of millions. And the Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran may rain down missiles on that country. But if that country feels it's going to be defeated, or a big percentage of its population killed with chemical weapons and so forth, I suspect Israel is not going to accept that. Nor should she. But there we are, Syria. I have no idea. And here's the thing. If we just fire a few cruise missiles, 100 cruise missiles, here, there, everywhere. And by the way, on the Internet, they're apparently telling us what the targets are. Maybe it's disinformation, but whatever. It's not going to do anything, ladies and gentlemen. So it shows us as being more impotent than we are currently under this president. That's the problem. And by the way, in England, the prime minister there, I think he calls himself Cameron. Nah, I don't care for this guy. He's got a mutiny within the Tory ranks. They're split. Many of them don't want England to participate in an airstrike in Syria. A mutiny. Imagine that. It's all in the Drudge Report. He's got 1,000 links up there discussing it. Good news, not unexpected, but it took an awfully long time to get here. This Islamo-Nazi Hassan, mass murderer, barbarian, subhuman, he got the death penalty today. The military jury sentenced him to death. Now, how the hell long is this going to take to actually do, to get him executed? The man has lived 3 years longer than he should. If one of our brave men or women in uniform at Fort Hood had been armed, he would have been shot between the eyes and put down right there and then feed him to the rats. But you're not allowed to be armed if you're a trained, sworn soldier on an American base. No, we can't trust you with weapons. They have ultimate gun control there. And what happens? A puke like this, knowing that, and not with an assault weapon, Mr. Clinton, with pistols. Murders 14 people, including an unborn baby, and an enormous number of others are horribly wounded. I mean, shouldn't we at least change that policy? That people who are in the military should be armed? Because the nut jobs will always be armed. No, I guess not. I must be so behind the times. I'm just not with it. Then did you see this? This poor 88-year-old man who was beaten to death by these two pieces of crap. He was beaten to death with flashlights because he resisted them when they were trying to rob him. This 88-year-old guy. Do you want to see what they're trying now? Do you know what the slip and fall puke lawyers came up with to defend these pukes? You see, they were trying, they were buying crack cocaine from the 88-year-old World War II vet, and he sold them short. He sold them short. So now they're going to smear this guy in death. They're going to smear him that he was drug dealing. How pathetic is that? Here's what it says. The allegation was sharply rebutted by friends of Delbert Belton, the 88-year-old veteran known as Shorty. Shorty never did drugs, said Ted Dennison, a friend who added that the defendants were smearing his name. The drug-dealing claim is in a letter police found after they arrested Keenan Adams Kennard early Monday morning. Spokane County Deputy Prosecutor Larry Haskell said during Tuesday's court hearing. Haskell said the letter contends Adams Kennard and Demetrius Glenn, 16, were buying crack cocaine from Belton when the attack occurred. That notion was scoffed at by family members and friends of Belton, who was known as Shorty because he was little more than 5 feet tall. Haskell did not return several telephone calls seeking additional information on the drug-dealing claim. Yeah, right. He's dealing drugs. Was he dealing drugs? I don't know. Let's see here. Anyway, time will tell what happens in that case. That'll go on forever, too. Meanwhile, Shorty's dead. 88-year-old renowned crack cocaine dealer as he came out of the Eagle Lodge, where he played pool all the time. I'm sure that can't possibly be inaccurate. But we'll find out, won't we? And interesting piece in the Daily Caller as we're doing our roundup here. They say it's personal. Obama carried $120,000 student loan debt for decades. Obama, for him, the student loan crisis is personal. He had not repaid all of their $120,000 student loan debt, that is he and Michelle's, until his election to the Senate in 2004. In a series of speeches last week, he pushed for measures that he hopes would force colleges to control costs for massively indebted students. He also expressed the view that law school should only last 2 years rather than 3. Yeah, and probably he wants free college tuition at some point. Why the hell not? You know what the news is today, Mr. Producer? Boring, boring, and boring some more. Let me take a call. Let us go to Sean, Wichita, Kansas, the great KNSS. Go.
Hey, Mark. Nice to talk to you again. It's been about a year.
Thank you, my friend.
This is probably the 5th time now in almost 3 years. Anyway, I called to express
Hold on. Let me write that down. Sean, Wichita. All right, go right ahead. Sorry.
Okay, this is, anyway, I wanted to express my, I want to say, extreme concern. I'm really kind of worried about us attacking Syria. For now, really, one reason, and it's a nightmare scenario. And I'm not really worried about the Iranians. I am worried about the Syrians. If we attack them, and I don't care if we fire 10 cruise missiles, 100 or 200. If we attack Syria, they're not going to be able to retaliate against us. So who are they going to retaliate against? Well, obviously, Israel.
Well, here's the thing. We don't know what they're going to do. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. But here's the thing. These countries that keep threatening Israel, you do understand they attack Israel, Israel's going to attack back, right?
That's for sure. But the thing with the thing about this, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, and by golly, I hope I'm wrong, because a lot of times I'm right when I wished I was wrong. If the Syrians attack Israel, I'm concerned that they might use chemical weapons. Well, the Israelis, they automatically equate a chemical weapons attack or a biological weapons attack on their country They equate that with it being a nuclear attack, and they will guaranteed retaliate with nuclear weapons.
All right, my friend, thank you. Well, Sean, Wichita, Kansas has guaranteed us that if Israel is attacked with chemical weapons, they will respond with nuclear weapons. So we'll be on the lookout for that one. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Brenda, Whitefish, Montana, the great KJJR. Brenda, let me say this. I like whitefish with a little bit of lox on a bagel. Go right ahead, my friend.
Good to talk to you, Mark. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I wanted to speak to you today about this amnesty program and how absurd it is. It's a slap in the face to any immigrant that's come to this country and done so legally and gone through the red tape, paid the fines and the like. My father came to this country from Marianople, Sicily when he was 13 years old, didn't speak the language, didn't have a high school education, but developed a business, raised 10 kids, and in spite of what Obama says, did it himself. My husband came to this country. We got married after 9 months and about $7,000 to get him legally here. And I think that it's just absurd that anyone can think that just give everybody a free ride and no matter what they've done is illegal. Illegal is illegal, and they should not be rewarded with citizenship. Well,
how dare you? A conservative leader, self-proclaimed Grover Norquist, seems to think that anybody who thinks like you obviously is racist because you would have opposed even your father coming here back way when.
I'm not a racist person. I believe in the American way. I believe in the Constitution, and the laws that are in place should be enforced. We don't need to.
And in fact, Brenda, that's really the American way, isn't it? Not what's being peddled by these temporary puke politicians. Well, puke is a big word today, as you can tell. But Brenda, you're right. Law and order, following the rules, waiting in line, legal immigration. That's what we believe in as Americans, isn't it, Brenda?
Absolutely. And I had to sign an affidavit of support saying that I would support my husband. He would not go on any welfare or benefit programs, not that he had any intention to. So I don't understand how that these people can get away with doing this. I don't understand how they can do it.
All right, yeah, Brenda, you do understand. You're being rhetorical. We've lost the country. What's right is wrong. What's up is down. Now, illegal aliens are the preferred potential citizens to actual citizens who pay their taxes and follow the law. It's really a remarkable thing. I'll be right back.
On the straight and narrow path, you have a guide. Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
You know, I hate to do this on the air, but I really have no other way of addressing it. We had a gentleman just call us off the air, and he was quite troubled. He said he went into his local Walmart, and he couldn't find the Liberty Amendments. And they said that they removed the book around 2 weeks ago because of the distributing house. So he called the distributing house, and they said they removed it because Walmart said to pull it. I don't know if any of this is true. But the gentleman sounded like he had integrity and was telling the truth. Didn't he, Mr. Call Screener? Yeah. And he even named the name of the distributing house. So I'll pass that along to the publisher. But let me tell you folks something. And I'm not saying they are, but if Walmart is not stocking the book, you can get it almost anywhere else, including Amazon and Costco and Sam's, which I thought was part of the Walmart Corporation. Books A Million. I just can't remember everybody. But Barnes & Noble, of course, is very well stocked. So if you go into a store, including one of these warehouse stores, and they don't have the book, shame on them. Why wouldn't they have the book that's #1 New York Times bestseller in every single nonfiction category, unless that's a corporate decision? I'm not saying it is, but this gentleman was adamant. He seemed to know exactly what he was talking about, and maybe that's just a problem with that particular store. I hope not. Man, oh man, it's never easy, I tell you. It's just not easy. Dealing with, I won't say it, we'll see. Let us go to Tom, San Jose, California, the great KSFO. Go.
Hey, Mark, I'm glad you met me.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so do you think all this focus on bombing Syria is just a diversion to keep us off of focusing on defunding Obamacare and, stopping the government and all that other stupid nonsense?
Well, it's interesting. If he's talking about a few hours, a relative handful of cruise missiles, they're already talking about the types of things they're going to target unless they change course. Not interested in toppling this regime. Not interested in really helping the rebels. I'm thinking, well, what the hell is it? Now, it can be multiple things, but even if that's not the intention, that certainly is the result. When's the last time anybody ever talked about the IRS scandal or the NSA scandal? When's the last time anybody ever talked about any of this stuff? You won't see it on cable TV or anywhere else, will you?
Nope. Also, maybe they're smarter than all of us. I really doubt this. But could it be that they're giving out all these details and all those details are actually wrong? So
yeah, it's possible.
The other guys.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible, no question about that. We'll find out soon enough, I suppose. I'm very troubled by the fact that because it's not an imminent war, or wasn't, or imminent threat to the United States, I should say, or an act of war against us, and he's had a long time to go to Congress and get authorization, and he hasn't, and now we have intelligence committees complaining that they're not coordinating with them. I'm just sick of the imperial president. I'm sick of the whole damn thing.
Yeah. Well, of course, if we go through with this, maybe we will get something that affects us directly. Somebody launches a bomb or, some...
Well, maybe, but they certainly don't need this to do that.
Oh, no, but, I think it gives them some sort of cover.
No, they don't need cover. If you're an Islamo-Nazi, you don't need cover. You have God on your side, remember?
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm thinking too rationally. I don't know.
All right, buddy. Take care of yourself. Let's see. Scott, Corpus Christi, Texas. The Mark Levin app. How are you? John, Akron, Ohio. How are you, sir?
Fine, and you?
Doing great. Thank you. Your turn, my friend. Go.
Well, we talk about all these things that's wrong with Washington. Until we get our government employees and our legislator especially covered under the same laws that they pass for us, they'll talk good things to get elected, and then they're on the gravy train. They should, I haven't heard any legislator cry out how terrible it is that they're going to get a 75% tax subsidy on their health care that we don't get.
I haven't heard a single one of them turn it down, have you?
No. I mean, if they don't like Obamacare, first of all, they should make everybody under the same law, and if it's that bad for both Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, they'll get it fixed. But when they get, themselves bailed out and we don't, it's no skin off their back.
You're right. It's a disgrace, a complete, utter disgrace. We talked about it at the time at some length, and time has passed, and nobody else gives a damn.
No, I think we're not going to see any change.
We should vote out every damn member of Congress for that alone.
I know. But, it'd be great if we could get a constitutional amendment to eliminate all these special perks that they get. I understand it for the president.
No, we don't pass constitutional amendments to get rid of all the special perks. Read the Constitution. The Constitution deals with structural issues and decision-making issues. The way you kill the perks is you put term limits in, you empower other governments, for instance the states, to overrule certain legislative decisions, but the Constitution isn't a grab bag of statutes and regulations and all the rest. We shouldn't do that.
Yeah, you're right. But
I agree with you that this is a big problem, and even these Republicans, if you have a Republican member of the House or Senate that takes this backdoor midnight benefit that they got, you should feel free to vote against them.
Yeah, it's silence is golden in their pocket.
All right, my friend. Thanks for your call. Let's keep going. Let's go to Zach, Mesa, Arizona, also on the Mark Levin app. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Mark. I love your show. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. And thank you.
I got a district survey from the RNC that I just filled out and sent in. And one of the first questions it asks is, do you consider yourself very conservative, independent that leans to the right, Tea Party? And to me, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, there's really not much difference between somebody who's very conservative and a Tea Party member.
Now, first of all, the idea that the Republican Party would ask such stupid questions, doesn't that tell you everything you need to know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you very conservative? Are you Tea Party? Well, what's the difference between, no, I'm just a regular conservative.
Right. Well, to me, it's just, there was a caller a couple weeks ago that had said he had noticed that through time, the left has taken our country more and more to the left, and in the process, the GOP has kind of followed along with them and gone more towards the left, but they're just a little bit to the right of them, and so they say, well, look, we're more conservative than them. And it's just, if they would just get back to the basics, it would, I just don't understand it. It drives me insane.
I understand it. The Republican Party, let's face it. You ready? You ready to face up to this? The Republican Party is not a conservative party.
No, absolutely not.
It's just not. And you can listen to these guys, our big tent, this, that, and the other. Big tent, how about the Constitution, liberty? You know, they talk about process. They use big tent. They use these phrases. We got to reach out. We have to stand for principles that are American principles and encourage Americans to come home.
Absolutely.
And you know what? And this is why Ted Cruz is so popular. This is why, hold on one second, Sarah Palin is so popular. Rand Paul is so popular. They're conservatives. And you know what? We never have a dyed-in-the-wall conservative running for president. Right.
Well, there's a section at the end that, of course, asks me to open my wallet and send them millions of dollars. Well, not millions.
Well, this is a phony direct mail ploy where they actually pretend that your input matters. They want you to do a survey or sign a petition or do something, and while you're at it, will you slip in a $25 check?
It's Priebus, so I'm sure he looks at each one of these individually, and he makes policy decisions based on that. But that section at the end where they ask for my money, I just crossed out that section. I said, I will not send any money to the RNC as long as they do not embrace conservative or Tea Party candidates, and as long as John Boehner is Speaker of the House. He's a disaster. He's gutless. I'm all for, I'm with you. I'm all for getting behind conservative candidates and electing them and trying to...
Sir, have you gotten my book yet?
I have not.
Well, I'm going to give you a signed copy, but I want to encourage people like you who are fed up and tired not to withdraw, not just... Let's at least start talking about an effective course of action here that involves the Constitution. So don't hang up. I'm going to send you a signed copy of the Liberty Amendments. There are many, many people like this gentleman who are frustrated and intelligent and patriots and conservative. And in many ways, you're the people I'm trying to get to. People say, why do you keep talking to the base? I'm not talking to the base. I'm talking about our principles. And I just want more and more people who are open to them to embrace what I've written. And if you want to look at the first chapter, absolutely free, right now, go to Mark Levin Show Facebook or Mark Levin Show Twitter. It's there. Or Mark Levin Show, my website.com. Let's see here. Oh, I got to take a little break. Now, let me tell you about Stamps.com. We're constantly hearing how important it is to save money, especially if you're running a small business. But what about saving time? It's also valuable, you know. That's why you need Stamps.com. You've heard the phrase, time is money. Well, it is. With Stamps.com, you can avoid those time-consuming trips to the post office. Get official U.S. postage using your own computer and printer. It's easy. And unlike the post office, Stamps.com is open 24/7, so you can do your mailing and shipping when it's convenient for you. Access all the services of the USPS, that would be the United States Postal Service, right from your desk. Listen to this, including priority mail, first-class mail, international mail, certified mail, any kinds of mail, packages as well. You get all this for just a fraction of the cost of one of those postage meters. So with Stamps.com, you'll save both time and money. And I've been using Stamps.com for years, so I speak from experience. It's very convenient. And I want you to try Stamps.com too. Why don't you try it today? You've heard me talk about it before. Right now, use my name, Mark, for this special offer. A no-risk trial plus a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Perfect. So don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Mark. That's Stamps.com. Enter Mark.
Mark Levin.
You folks ever watch the 700 Club? I watch it from time to time. I like the 700 Club. And David Brody, who's really their main reporter, is a really good guy. And David Brody was at the bunker last week and interviewed me for a significant amount of time. Really good guy. And David Brody has told me that this Friday, what is today, Wednesday? Week's going fast. So this Friday, on the 700 Club at 10 a.m. Eastern on the ABC Family Channel, they will air the interview. And they do a lot of great production work, too. So there's actually a fairly extensive view of the bunker that may interest you. I don't remember if I wore my glasses or not. Wear the glasses. No, don't wear the glasses. But anyway, I'll remind you tomorrow. It is this Friday, 2 days from now, the 700 Club, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the ABC Family Channel if you want to check it out. And we'll be discussing many things, including the Liberty Amendments. But he asked me a number of very good questions, so I think you'll like that. Okay, let's take some calls, shall we? Yes, we can. Let's see. Let us go to Rich, Huntington, New York, the great WABC. Has the town recovered from my appearance, sir? Yes or no?
I'm really sorry, Mark. I couldn't make it. I felt so disappointed.
You're the one. Everybody else was there.
I know. I wanted to see you so bad. I like your speeches too. God.
I didn't give a speech, but go right ahead.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No.
Anyway, I wanted to see you. I always have a good time there. I got a question. The question is this. If I know we shouldn't, the third party thing, starting a third party would be a problem, but with Boehner and them, if we really, and the Tea Party and us, you know, that's what we really are, we're two-party conservatives, if we really got the message that, look, without us, we're going to split, and put that pressure on them, would that be enough leverage, you think, to make them defund Obamacare?
Maybe. Well, we don't have time to say, hey, third party, we split. First of all, how would that manifest itself? I mean, who's going to say that, and where are all the numbers, and how would that coalesce? You see what I mean? I don't think that would happen, and I don't think it would happen that fast.
But some sort of a threat where they would say, look, without us, you guys are sunk. We are the base of the party. What does it take for them to get that message? that they can't survive without us. We are the majority of the Republican Party.
Yeah, well, they don't care.
That's what's scary.
They don't care. The only thing that Boehner would care, I don't even know if Boehner has a Democratic opponent in the Democrat Party. I have no idea.
Yeah.
See, what we need to do, quite frankly, and a blogger, a really good one by the name of Doug Ross came up with it, we have to knock off one of these guys politically. And if not in a primary, in a general election, that'll send a message and send a really fast message.
You know, someone actually said that, Mark, that maybe if a Democrat won in Boehner's district.
Yeah, I think it was me.
Okay.
All right, my friend, thank you for your call. How much time do I have, Mr. Producer? All right, let's keep rolling. Larry, McLean, Virginia, the great WMAL. Go.
Hey, Mark, I want to tell you one of my heroes, but the point I want to make is...
Thank you.
You know, the term... Thank you.
Well, who's the other one?
Well, you know...
I gotcha. Anyway,
gotcha.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was ready to go. Hey, listen,
right.
I think the problem with the term conservative, which I totally am, is you get a guy like John Boehner who's conservative, they say, because he wants to conserve the status quo. You know, he's conservative in his personality, but he's not conservative in his philosophy.
I don't think people are confused by this. I mean, I don't think that, well, you want to conserve, therefore you're conservative. No, supporting the status quo, if the status quo is like Obamacare, then you're not conservative. Conservative doesn't mean you're conserving. Conservative means, at least my understanding is, you embrace the civil society. The civil society is the society outside of government.
Well, see, I encountered this in a number of ways where I was called conservative just because of my...
Wait a minute, you have people coming up to you and say, I'm confused about conservative. You mean conserve this or that or something else? Really?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell you that. Cause you know, you can get a guy that has...
So what should we call people then?
Well, no, I think we should be conservative. I'm just saying that people look at John Boehner. Well, he's a conservative. He's not a conservative. He's not conserving the civil society.
No, I agree with you. No, I agree with this. All right, Larry, appreciate it. Now, Mr. Callstream, you get a good night's sleep, will you? All right, he's going to get a good night's sleep, and we'll start again tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel. America, God bless you. Let's meet again right here tomorrow. I'm Mark Levin.